Abraham Lincoln was a remarkable figure. He rose from humble beginnings. His early life was marked by hardship, yet he possessed a keen intellect and a deep sense of justice. This man would guide America through its most trying time. Lincoln's journey to the presidency was not easy. He faced many political challenges. The nation was deeply divided over slavery. He believed in the Union's preservation. His speeches were powerful and moving. In 1860, he was elected president. This election pushed the nation closer to war. The American Civil War began in 1861. It was a brutal and bloody conflict. Brother fought against brother. Lincoln shouldered an incredible burden. He sought to preserve the United States and end slavery. His Emancipation Proclamation was a bold step. It changed the course of the war. Pressure on Lincoln was constant and immense. He dealt with military setbacks and political opposition. His son Willie died during the war, deeply affecting him, yet he remained steadfast in his duty. He worked tirelessly for the nation. His resilience was extraordinary. He truly was the tall man from Illinois. The mid-19th century was a volatile time. America was a young nation struggling with its identity. The issue of slavery created a deep chasm. The North was largely industrial, moving away from slavery. The South relied on an agrarian economy dependent on enslaved labor. These differences seemed irreconcilable. Political tensions reached a boiling point. Debates over states' rights raged. Southern states feared federal overreach. They believed they could leave the Union. Northern states insisted on federal authority. Compromises had failed repeatedly. The election of Lincoln was the final straw. Southern states began to secede, forming the Confederate States of America. War seemed inevitable. Societal divisions ran incredibly deep. Families were split by loyalties. Friends became enemies overnight. Abolitionists in the North called for an end to slavery. Slaveholders in the South defended their way of life. This fundamental disagreement fueled hatred and immense fear. The Civil War was the ultimate expression of this divide. It lasted for 4 long years, claiming hundreds of thousands of lives. The nation was truly at war with itself. The conflict reshaped the American landscape. It tested the very idea of democracy. John Wilkes Booth was a famous actor. He was handsome and charismatic. Many admired his stage presence. But beneath the surface, he held strong beliefs. He was a fervent Confederate sympathizer. He hated Abraham Lincoln deeply. He blamed Lincoln for the South's suffering. Booth yearned for a way to strike back. He wanted to avenge the Confederacy. Booth's initial plan was not assassination. He first thought of kidnapping Lincoln. He believed this could save the Confederacy. He imagined taking Lincoln to Richmond. He hoped to exchange Lincoln for prisoners or force an end to the war. He gathered a small group of like-minded men. They began to plot this daring abduction. As the war neared its end, Booth grew desperate. The Confederacy was clearly losing. Richmond fell to Union forces in April 1865. Booth's kidnapping plan seemed impossible now. His frustration turned into something darker. He decided assassination was the only way. He wanted to throw the Union into chaos. He hoped it might revive the Southern cause. This was a desperate, tragic miscalculation. The stage was set for a terrible act. John Wilkes Booth did not act alone. He drew others into his deadly scheme. Lewis Powell was a key figure. He was a young, strong former Confederate soldier. Booth assigned him a dangerous task. Powell was to attack Secretary of State William Seward. David Harold was another important conspirator. This knowledge would be crucial for escape. George Atzerodt was given another target. He was supposed to kill Vice President Andrew Johnson. Mary Surratt also played a role, but she was ultimately convicted and hanged. The conspirators' web was intricate. Their actions would lead to a nation's mourning. The date was April 14, 1865. It was Good Friday. The Civil War had just ended. General Lee had surrendered days earlier. Washington, D.C. was in a celebratory mood. President Lincoln decided to attend a play at Ford's Theater. The play was Our American Cousin. John Wilkes Booth knew Ford's Theater well. He was an actor, familiar with its layout. He learned Lincoln would be there and saw his opportunity. He finalized his desperate plan. Powell would attack Seward. Atzerodt was to target Johnson. Booth himself would kill Lincoln. He timed his entrance carefully. Booth slipped into the presidential box. He carried a small Derringer pistol and a dagger. He shot Lincoln in the back of the head. Major Henry Rathbone in the box with Lincoln tried to stop Booth. Booth stabbed Rathbone in the arm. Then Booth leaped from the box to the stage. He shouted, "Sic semper tyrannis," meaning thus always to tyrants. Chaos erupted in the theater. Lincoln slumped forward in his chair. Doctors rushed to his side. Booth, despite injuring his leg in the jump, escaped. The nation held its breath, praying for a miracle. Abraham Lincoln died the next morning. It was April 15, 1865. The nation was plunged into grief. Anger and a desire for justice followed. A massive manhunt began immediately. Thousands of soldiers were involved. The search for Booth and his accomplices was intense. The government offered a large reward. Information poured in from citizens. The hunt covered several states. John Wilkes Booth and David Harold fled south. They hoped to find refuge in Virginia. Booth's injured leg slowed them down. They hid in swamps and forests. Dr. Samuel Mudd treated Booth's leg, implicating him in the conspiracy. For 12 days, they evaded capture. The pursuit was relentless and widespread. The end came at Garrett's farm in Virginia. On April 26th, Union soldiers surrounded a tobacco barn. Booth and Harold were hiding inside. Harold surrendered to the soldiers. Booth refused to give himself up. The soldiers set the barn on fire to force Booth out. As Booth moved inside, a soldier shot him. Sergeant Boston Corbett fired the fatal shot. Booth died a few hours later. Other conspirators were quickly rounded up. The nation watched as justice was served. The assassination of Abraham Lincoln shocked America. It sent waves of grief across the land. People mourned the fallen leader deeply. Black Americans especially felt his loss. He was their great emancipator. Fear also gripped the nation. Many worried about the country's future. Would the hard-won peace unravel? The sense of stability was shattered. The joy of war's end turned to sorrow. Lincoln's death had a profound impact on Reconstruction. This was the period of rebuilding the South and integrating freed slaves. Lincoln had favored a lenient approach. He wanted to heal the nation quickly. His success